Hey, this is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com again. This is going to be a much different video than all my other videos. There's something personal going on in my life, and the second part is people keep asking me, like, what got you into this business? All right. It's kind of a personal question, and I guess today's a good day because a friend of mine, it was a fighter I used to train. I used to train professional fighters, boxers and kickboxers and Muay Thai fighters. And I got some bad news today. He has about a week left. He's dying of cancer. So I kind of wanted to make this a tribute to Tony Sanza. He was a great fighter, and he was also a soldier for the United States military. He fought on the front lines. He was a sniper. I'm not going to get too, I guess, emotional, but I just, people ask me, like, what got you in this business? Well, man, I'm not really sure where to start. I'll start out, I guess, the beginning. Basically what happened was I was human, and still am, but I had, as a guy going through high school, I was always winning everything. State champions, national championships, boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, football, racing. And I did very well for a long time until quite a few of my friends died, and then my best friend died just after high school, and everything started to unravel in college. And I'm just going to say, I'm going to make it real quick because I really want to kind of move this along. Basically, I had a lot of emotional issues. I was struggling for the first time in my life, and I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know how to deal with it, and it was a blessing in disguise because I started studying psychology every day, every class I could get my hands onto. In college, and then someone turned me on to Tony Robbins, and it didn't fix it right away. It's, a lot of people think, oh, you go to one seminar and you're all fixed. Like, no, not. It's, you start learning about your own mind, your heart, how to adjust things inside your mind. Okay, and that got me. I fell in love with change technologies, from NLP, that's Neuro-Linguistic Programming, Hypnosis, Timeline Therapy, Huna, Reiki, pranic healing, studying the art of Huna. I studied a lot of stuff, and I studied for decades, okay? So, man, where do I go with this? Because it wasn't a quick fix right away. At least for me, it wasn't. Now, for some of my clients, it's been like a 1 session, 2 or 3 session fix. So, what happened was I've always cared about people. I mean, really when I see someone sad, I want to go over there and help them. When I see someone struggle in a sport, I have an eye to look at someone and go, oh, I see what they're doing wrong. I mean, I've been able to walk into gyms, and the coach has been just, I remember my coach, is Jacob Stitz Duran. If I remember, I'll put a picture, right here. He's in the UFC right now. He's a cut man, #1 cut man. And he was trying to train this guy, he's a professional fighter, on how to do this, I think it's a spinning back reverse jump kick. And the guy couldn't get it. And I was just like, well, how do you do that? And he's like, oh, Mike, it takes months, take your time. I'm like, no, just keep doing it. 1, 2, 3, pa, and I got it. Just wham, I got it. I'm really good at being able to see something. Once I get it in my mind's eye, I can do it. And the cool thing is, then I taught it to him. And Jacob goes, if you could do it, good luck, man. And I go, look, what he's trying to say, and I moved him around a little bit, and I go, now do it. And he goes, pa, and whack. He just reverse kick right, his heel just slammed right into the bag. And my coach looked at me and goes, I don't know how the hell you did that. But I've always had this knack for being able to see things, and once I can get it, then I can physically do it, then I can teach it to anyone else. That is the gift that I want to say I was born with. But NLP amplified that gift because it taught me what I was doing unconsciously, what I was seeing that other people weren't seeing. So #1, you could say I was a born coach. I've always coached, even in Little League Baseball and Babe Ruth. I was always like, no, not like this, like, do it like that and hold it like this or look this way, or focus like this. And I've always had an eye for that. And when I got involved with Tony Robbins and NLP, I really dialed into what people are doing unconsciously. It is an amazing, fascinating thing. So that is ultimately what got me into all this psychology, communication, linguistics, especially unconscious communication. Because once I learned is that people are doing something unconsciously. They're doing the wrong thing. All you have to do is find out what it is and then shift that. And all of a sudden now they're doing it the right way. They're going from failure to success, from sad to happy to, a single guy can't meet a girl to meeting a girl. It's just really interesting work when you can finally get people to open up and take these limitations and, throw them away. All of a sudden life becomes easy. It's like you take the brakes off and you flow through life. The biggest reward for me is watching people make that click, make that change. The light bulb goes on and they're like, oh, I get it. That is why I do this work. When I see that moment, and here's the funny thing, I see it before they're conscious. I see it in their eyes and they kind of light up and their eyes ping pong because they're making the connections, what we call in NLP, neurologically or unconsciously. It's very fun watching that. So my own pain led me into desperation, which led me to finding an answer. And wow, this was an eye-opening and blessing in disguise. So what happened was I was a fighter in the IKF, International Kickboxing Federation. I fought a few times, maybe half a dozen times or so. And I got away from it for a while. I really started studying NLP and psychology. Just all I cared about day and night. I would literally study 5 or 6 hours. It's everything I get my hands on. And I did that for 12 years, minimum. And then I continued on past that, but I didn't quite do it that much every single day, So I guess what happened was the president of the IKF called me up and he said, hey, Mike. I'm like, yeah. He goes, I heard you're doing some great work with people. I'm like, well, yeah. So what's going on? He goes, well, I've got this fighter. I go, yeah. And he goes, well, he's a phenomenal fighter, but he's got this problem. I'm like, well, what's the problem? He goes, well, come to the fights this weekend. He goes, you'll see. So I showed up at the fight. He warmed up great. I thought, it looks pretty good to me, Stepped in the ring, the bell rang, and he froze. And I was like, what the hell's going on, Luckily, the other guy was more afraid of him. And the only guy kind of, popped him around a little. It was only a 3-round fight. And I was just like, well, he lucked out. So he lost the fight. And then about, I don't know if it was a week later or a month later, but it was a little later, he started practicing again. And he was awesome. And he was just ripping into this other guy that was a professional fighter. And I was like, why didn't you do that in the fight last month? And he goes, well, I've got this problem. I'm like, well, what's the problem? He goes, I kind of freeze. I'm like, yeah, I noticed. Now, here's the thing, once I saw him in the practice gym, I was like, oh, that's what, because the president of the IKF was saying, no, he's a great fighter. I'm like, well, how do you know? Because when I saw his fight, it didn't look that great to me. And I just figured the guy was new and he had to learn how to fight. And when I saw him in the ring, it's like, no, he'd been training for years. He was a great fighter. He just froze once he got up in front of a crowd. It's a real simple thing. He had a phobia. Technically, it was a stage fright, okay? Stage phobia, stage fright. So I was like, oh, that's easy. I saw it, and no one else seemed to know what was going on. And to me, it was obvious, okay? So I worked with the guy, boom, done. Next fight, he just went in there, boom, boom. And I shifted something in his mind, and I anchored the ring to shifting him into that same state of mind that he was in when he was in practice, just going full blast. He just destroyed this guy. And I mean, absolutely destroyed this guy. And the president of the IKF came up, and he goes, I don't know what you're doing, but keep on doing it. He goes, that's phenomenal. Which leads to why I'm also leaving this video. This guy, Tony Sanza, I trained him for about 2 years. Great guy. He's dying of cancer right now. I just found out he's got a week left. I've known about this for a while, and I really was hoping he was going to pull through, but it kind of, I don't know. I don't want to give up hope. I know it's a little late, but I just want to say, I want to kind of mention Tony, tribute to Tony Sanza. He was a great fighter. He fought in the United States military, fought on the front lines, special. I think he was actually he was a Marine. He was a sniper is what I was trying to say. And I don't know how many tours he did. I never, he doesn't talk about it, but I know he did more than one tour, and it was definitely pretty tough on him. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I do this work because I like helping people. I like making a difference in people's lives. It helps me turn my life around, and it's the most rewarding thing, helping people turn their lives around. And it's really great knowing that you have the skills and the ability to actually help someone because you know what it is that they need to shift. And the male to female communication aspect, a lot of people try to say, oh, you're just teaching guys to pick up on women. It's like, no, not at all. This is so much more than that. It's about communication. It's about love. It's about understanding. It's about getting along. It's about fulfilling women's needs. Women have different needs than men, and it is so unique in comparison to where a man is coming from the way we experience the world, that we hear you saying, you know, my needs, but it goes right over our head. And until I started connecting with these things mentally and emotionally and understanding what's going on inside physically, they were just words to me. And I, you know, as I say in all my videos, you know, she's saying something out of her right brain's processor, the female brain, and he processes it through his left brain, and it changes the meaning. And he's literally not understanding it. He's literally hearing the opposite of what you're saying. All right. So why do I do this stuff? It's for love. It's for caring. It's to make a difference in the world. Hey, this is Mike Kollin. If you haven't bought my book yet, Crack the Female Code, go ahead and buy my book at crackthefemalecode.com. Or you can just go to my front page. It's also on the homepage at mikekollin.com. Hey, this is Mike Kollin. Thank you for listening. And Tony, good luck. Hopefully you make it through this. All right, bye-bye.